chunk loading. It's super useful. It allows you to run farms while nobody's online. It allows for the creation of hostile mob caps. It can even be used in long distance item transportation, but it's super inconsistent. So recently on my SMP series, I need a reliable chunk loader to load our storage system. So I went ahead and designed this one right here. This chunk loader uses the trick that every time you send an entity to a different dimension, it loads that other dimension for 15 seconds. And if you create a loop of the item going back and forth between the dimensions, it will permanently load a 3x3 chunk area in both dimensions around the portal. So as we can see here, after the item is picked up from coming from the nether side, it will be dispensed out of this dropper, aligned with this block with the sticky piston, with a side block, and launched back through the portal with this piston. So when it appears on the nether side, it gets picked up by this hopper, dispensed out, aligns by this sticky piston in this exact corner, and then pushed over by this piston back through the portal into the overworld, which completes the loop. So to show how the chunk loading works, I have a command block set up here which will just spam the dimension's name in the chat. Now when I go through the portal, it will unload all the chunks on the other side, and you can see the command block is no longer running. Now, if I turn on the chunk loader, it will turn on, and you can see it was immediately loaded. If I turn on the overworld side, you can see that the overworld and the nether are now loaded. And you can see on the nether side, both the overworld and the nether are still loaded. The reason that this chunk loader is more reliable than other chunk loaders is because we align the item in the same position every single time, as you may have seen from before. The problem is that the chunk loader can still fail. Maybe a zombie walks into the portal and picks up the item. Maybe a pigman spawns in the portal and picks up the item before it can pathfind out. Maybe for some reason the item doesn't get picked up by the hopper. These situations would be really bad. And the reasoning for this is if there is no item in the system, that means you will not be able to complete the loop and keep the chunks loaded. And complex redstone contraptions don't like being unloaded at the wrong time. Now, there is almost no way to make a 100% lossless perma-loader because you are playing with entities, and entities is never perfect. So instead, I made a system that if the item doesn't come back in a certain amount of time, it'll actually flip a safety switch, which you can hook up to anything. So if I pick up the item before it can go through the portal and load the other side, you can see that this comparator clock will slowly degrade. And when it turns off, this piston will extend, and the perma-loader will continue to run again. Basically what this is the safety switch. Once it's on, it will not be able to turn off because I made it lock itself. Now, the reasoning behind this is that if the perma-loader breaks, that usually means there's a larger problem and you should go in and fix it. This part is completely optional and unnecessary, but basically when this redstone block is extended, that means that the safety switch has fired and something has gone wrong. Now, you can do whatever you want with this. You can take redstone output and then put a lamp to indicate that something went wrong. You could also make it so it stops that super complex machine, so it could try to save the machine from a bad unload. That's only the first part of the safety switch that the chunk loader has. The second part is that it has some extra dummy items in this chest that it can also send through. Now, these items will not be taken out unless something goes wrong, where it will take one out and cycle it back into the system so it can try to save itself from a bad unload. Once there is a failure, though, there is no guarantee that it can save itself, but it's just an attempt to give more time to save the system that it's loading. If you're not fully aware of how portal chunk loading works, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how it works. So in the initial 3x3 chunks around the chunk loader, the chunks will be loaded in entity processing. Basically what this means is that any entities, so items, mobs, armor stands, boats, they will all be processed and run as normally inside these chunks. The next ring of chunks around the 3x3 is redstone ticking. That means that no entities will be processed, but redstone components like command blocks, pistons, redstone dust, they will all be running. And then the next ring after that is lazy chunks, where almost nothing is processed. This is really good for hostile mob caps because it will count all entities in these lazy chunks towards the mob cap, but they will not be processed at all. And then the chunks after that are completely inaccessible and nothing will run at all. Using this logic, if you needed a larger area to be loaded, you would need to build each chunk loader 3 chunks apart. 1, 2, 3. That's embarrassing. You could put the chunk loaders closer together, but the maximum distance you could have where everything in between the portals would be entity processing is 3 chunks apart. Okay, now it's time to actually show you how to build this machine. Before we start, I just wanted to let you know I have a link to the schematic for the mod Lightmatica in the description if you feel that would be easier. I will also provide a material list in the description. With that out of the way, let's get to it. First, you want to build a nether portal in the center chunk of your chunk loading grid. The easiest way to see chunk borders is if you hit F3 and G at the same time, and this overlay will appear and it will show the 16x16 area of the chunk. First, you're going to make the comparator clock for the safety switch like this. Then we are going to place a block here and the repeater facing into that block. Then place a block on the other side, a repeater facing in this direction, a sticky piston facing upwards, and a block on top. Then we're going to want a block here, here, and here, with a redstone dust and a 2-tick repeater facing in this direction. Now we want to place a dropper up here, and a comparator facing into this block. And then to build the dropper over there, we want to place a block here, redstone dust, and then 2 droppers, one facing upwards and one facing in this direction. Next we want to place a block here, a repeater on 2 ticks. Then we're going to place another block, redstone dust, and a redstone torch here. Next, place 3 hoppers facing to this dropper, put a carpet on top, a chest over here, and fill this chest with some dummy items. And while you're at it, fill the top dropper with a singular item. Another cut from the future, you need to place 1 dummy item in the hopper underneath the chest as well. Next, we can work on the off switch. You can place a block here, then a repeater on top, and then 3 blocks like this, with dust on top, and then another block here, and a repeater facing into this comparator. And also, this redstone dust before is actually not necessary. You can break this. Next, we need to make a path for the item to be aligned properly. So we need a terracotta here, and here. And then we need another 2 right here, and right here. And then 2 packed ice here. Now place some guard blocks in to prevent the item from leaving the perma-loader. Next, we want to start wiring up the pistons. So we need to place a block here, redstone torch on top, and then a block here, another redstone torch on top. Next, we want blocks here, here, and here, and then 2 terracotta blocks like this. And then on top of these blocks, we want redstone dust, a normal repeater, redstone dust, and then a repeater on 4 ticks. Next, we want to place a block here with a redstone torch on this face, and then place a sticky piston here, and then place a slime block here and here. And to make sure no items can fly out, place another terracotta block here. Then to put the other piston in, we have to come down here, place a sticky piston here, and place a slime block here. Now we need to finish up the safety system. So we need to place a torch here, a block that cannot be moved by slime blocks, a concrete here with dust on top, and then concrete here, and then a sticky piston facing outwards here. Place the redstone on top like this. Then get a redstone block. Place a redstone block at the end of the sticky piston. Place some blocks, redstone dust, and repeater. And on the other side of the portal, we need to be able to remove the zombie pigmen. First, place a block here with a slab on top, and then 2 more blocks, and 2 more blocks here so the zombie pigmen can get out. Now, depending on the way you're going to kill the zombie pigmen, you can either have a dirt block with a wither rose on top right here, or you put a sand block here, a cactus on top, and string on top. The string will stop the cactus from growing, but allow the pigmen to be hurt. Next, place 3 blocks here, 2 blocks here, and 3 blocks here. Next, you want to place a trapdoor and open it. Then place a block and put another trapdoor and break the block. And lastly, place a block, place a trapdoor, and remove the block. And place a block and a turtle egg at the end. And to finish off the overworld side, place a block here and a lever here, and that will turn off the system. You may need to reset the safety switch. All you have to do is break this redstone dust and place it back. Now before you build the nether side, you want to see which direction the item will come out. So the way to do that is just turn on the system by unflicking the lever. And the second you see some movement, you should see an item go through. And now you can turn it off. And now go into the nether. And we can see that the items came out in this direction. If there are a bunch of other portals in the area of your chunk loader, you need to make sure that your overworld portal and your nether portal are properly linked together. The best way to do this is to go into the nether portal in the overworld, hit F3, take your overworld coordinates and divide them by 8. You can ignore the Y value. The Y value is not affected by the division. And then place your portal in the nether at those exact coordinates that you get. Even though Y values are not affected by the division by 8, the Y value still matters. So if you had a portal in the overworld at Y70 and another nether portal at Y40, it would link to the nether portal at Y70 and not the one at Y40. But now it's time to build. First, you're going to want to place a dropper with a hopper running into it. Then you're going to place a comparator facing out into a block, redstone dust, 2 ticks on a repeater, and a block. Next, you want to extend the tower upwards by placing a dropper up here, and then placing another dropper facing in this direction. Then place some redstone dust, a block, and a torch. Next, you want to place some terracotta here, 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 and here. And then you want to place 2 packed ice blocks right here. And then place some guardrails here and here. Next, you're going to place a slime block here and here. And then you're going to have a piston facing in this direction towards the slime blocks. Then a block, a redstone torch, and then add 3 blocks here. And add another 2 terracotta here. Next, place some redstone dust, a repeater, more redstone dust, and 3 tick repeater. Then place a block in front of the repeater with a redstone torch on the other side. Next, place a piston here and a slime block here. Place a terracotta block right here so no items can get out. And then lastly on the nether side, you will also want to put 1 dummy item in the top dropper. And you're done! I would like to mention that it would be beneficial to surround the chunk loader in some kind of structure, so there is a super low chance of any mobs getting into the system and messing with it. And with that, I hope this video could help. See ya!